Good morning, everybody. Or actually, when you see this, will probably be the afternoon. So, good afternoon. I'm not going to talk about what happened this week. You guys need a palate cleanser. I need a palate cleanser. So, we're going to talk strictly comics, okay? Because we need it. We need it. So, I talked to you guys about the chimney or the fireplace, and I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm putting a light tone around where the flames would be. Now, the flames themselves, I'm not going to ink them because this is going to be a colored book. I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to treat it like a holding line for the colorist to do whatever they want, and so they can do it, and then from there, uh, sorry about that. So I'm not. I'm just going to leave it for the colorists, and I'm not going to ink it and let them just do their color magic. That's the same thing up here with the flame up here. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let the colorist handle that. So, but what I want to do is I'm gonna start low, and very fine dots that you guys may have trouble seeing on the screen. But as I go up towards here, it's gonna get darker and darker. So that way you guys can see the transition as we go along. Okay. So, and then, so we're going to start with this nib here. I'm probably going to take this nib all the way up to the top, and then when I get to the very top, switch to that thick, gloppy nib for the top to get the real harsh darks, kind of like what's over here. So, but we're still going to keep it very, very atmospheric, if you will. So, we're not going to go with a harsh dot, so that way over here still reads as a stronger dark. So, and we're going to start with this is week 37 of Sign Comics. We're doing days 250 through 256, and 250. Now, this was not intentional. This was just as that fell. Day 250 is Superman Cow, signed by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Uh, you got these one-offs, okay, or one-shots done by Jose are always extraordinary. He does such a great job with them, and it really shows. Uh, Not just in his figure work, but where he really goes in with uh, all the details that go into the environment that these characters are in. The fact that Jose put so much time into the costuming and the environment in which Cal is in really adds to the story and creates that world that makes it really believable and really gets you into the story. And that's where it's important, especially when you're doing a timepiece story. You really got to put a lot of work into your research for the characters. So you take a look at this one. This takes place between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. So it's really important to put a lot of research into the environment because you got to make it believable for the audience, and you really have to put in so that way the audience really looks and sees and gets a feel for the environment that these characters are in. Because if you can't do that, you lose the audience. And you could have a great, stupendous story, but if you don't provide an environment for these characters, you'll lose your audience. Okay, and that's where the job of the artist is. Their job is to get you immersed in the story through the environment. So and that's the reason why I put so much into my research And that's also the reason why, like right now, uh, when I'm at home and I'm drawing, I have Civil War and uh, Revolutionary War movies on, so that way I get that feel. And I may not get the jacket or the coat or the shirt absolutely correct, but I gotta at least get that feel for it. So watching those movies, such as the Patriot with Mel Gibson, remember that the HBO Max did a John Adams miniseries. I'm watching that, and Last of the Mohicans. Those are like the three films I'm primarily watching right now, so I can get that feel for the costuming and like uh, if I'm having them having dinner, like having them having dinner, I want to make certain that the table setting fits the feel of the movie, the feel of the environment. So that's what I'm watching right now. So and all that comes and like I said, that's what Jose did. Is he really gave you that feel of the environment that the characters were in, that they were taking place in medieval times, the area of Camelot. And if you look at the cover of this book, okay, it's got a painted cover of Superman in the armor. Found out from Jose when I had him sign this book. Someone made the remark from who was sitting at the table with him. They're like, "Don't you still have that?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's framed in my hallway." So he and apparently that image of Cal, it is a huge painting. It's not standard 11 by 17. It's like 24 by 36. He made a big, massive painting for that. I mean, that's one of those where I look at it and go like, man, I would love to see DC reprint that just so I can see the scale and magnitude of that drawing. So, and then we go from uh, day 250 to day 251. This is Superman, Man of Steel, annual number 2. This was during the Bloodlines era when there are, I remember those aliens that come to Earth and sucking the blood out, the spinal fluid out of people, and some people come back to life with superpowers. This was one of those annuals from that event. This was right after the Man of Steel had died, and it was actually Steel who is in the issue, and the character, the human who comes back to life, and he's got like barbs and coming out of his skin and whatnot. He was wearing a Death of Superman T-shirt, which became famous during that time. So this was, and again, it was a Bloodlines annual. Louise Simonson, she did the story, and Glenn Whitmore did the colors. So I got both their signatures. Glenn's one of those where he did a lot of work when Superman had what was like had three. I'm sorry, four titles going at a time. He did a lot of work for them, and did a lot of the Superman covers of titles. So I'm hoping because of those, a lot of those stories during that time are still being produced as trade paperbacks. I certainly hope DC's taking care of him with the annual incentive checks. So, and then after that, we go into Man of Steel number 37. This was during the Zero Hour, and many times, and I've heard this many times through interviews with creators, and how one of the hardest things was when you were in a monthly book for DC is you'd have these great stories going on, but then you gotta stop the story you're doing so you can work the character into that event. And many times, it would be like a one-off story, like a one issue beginning, middle, and end that went along with the event. And this was the 0 hour. I really enjoyed this because uh, here the way they did it was uh, Superman interacts with Batman, but here Batman's because he's like kind of like it's 0 hour and all the timelines are kind of meshed together. He interacts with all the different Batman from all the different eras. And what John Bogendive did was he researched not just the artists for those eras, but he then turned around and then he mimicked the art style of those creators to give the truly so it looked almost like Frank Miller was doing the Dark Knight Batman, and how so it looked like Neil Adams was doing the athletic Bat. Remember how the Neil Adams Batman had the really long ears, and not just that, but just the posturing and the line work. And apparently, he put so much. He was like ahead of schedule when he up till this issue, but because he put so much into it, it actually put him behind schedule on the regular monthly book. I really respect the fact that John put so much into that to mimic those art styles. And when I expressed that to Louise, she said to me, she goes, "That is all John. John's the one that put that work in, and it came through, and it showed." So when I said that to John, he's the one that said, "Yeah, and how like I was." And he said, I was up, I was on time with all with my regular monthly book, but this issue put him behind schedule because he put so much into it. So I really respect how much time he put into it just for this one issue. This almost like a one shot issue. So I really respect that he put so much into it, and it shows. Like I said, it's the reason why I wanted it signed because I really enjoy this. I was never a big fan of the Man of Steel series, but this is the one of those issues where it's like, yeah, this one I gotta have signed because I really enjoy it. I really respect the amount of work that was put into it. So, okay, see how we're going there. Now here's the thing: we've done a pretty good job, but over here along the side, it's kind of mishy. It's a, okay. I'm going to have when I'm done. I'm going to have to figure out how to get this so there's more separation. But what I want to do is I want to hit up top here, and I really want to get this much darker. Okay, so this needs to sit so it's darker than this, but not as dark as this. So this is the mid ground. So I'm going to have to. All I can do is just keep hitting it with dots and let the dots fill in all the holes slowly to create that dark tone. So let's clean the nib. Let's put some more ink on it. So yeah, after day 252 with Man of Steel number 37, we go to day 253, Superman number 7, signed by Carl Kessel. It was started when John Byrne was doing Superman. It started with Dick Giordano doing the inks, and then Carl Kessel took over. And the reason why had this one signed was this was the issue where John Byrne created the character Ravage, where there was a scientist, she was in an explosion, and the radiation energy got merged into her and turned her into this like female like Red Hulk type character. And how he had to defeat it, and then in the end, she reverts back to normal. This character, she would return numerous times in the Starman comic book series. Remember that issue of Starman I showed you, signed by Scott Hanna? Yes. Ravage appeared numerous times. Now, Scott Hanna never worked on the issue when she showed up. So I don't have any with her any signed with her in it. So, but I did enjoy the character. Like I said, it was almost like I looked at it and was like, wow, okay, DC now has a She-Hulk character. That's how I viewed it, and she never really caught on, but I still like the character. So I hope that in over time they would use her. In fact, this is one of those characters. If they were like, if DC was like, Vaughn, we want you to do a series for us, but you can only use the non-popular characters. My response would be like, yes, okay, this would definitely be one of the characters. So, I would have more fun. It would probably, even though it wouldn't be a big seller, I would have more fun working on a book with a bunch of nobodies, because I can just really, it's one of those where it's like I can really just do, not necessarily do anything I want, but I can really have fun with those characters as opposed to, oh geez, Batman. I know it's going to be a big set. How the hell do I do this to make it entertaining? So, I mean, even if it was a Batman character, we're like, how can I have this Batman character, have him in it, but he's kind of in the background, and it's more about these other characters. So, but okay, yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking. I want to hit the over here along the side a little bit more, and see how. Take a look at the left side. How the left side really now stands out against that. I remember how like just 2 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago, it really wasn't standing out. Now it stands out. That this, you can see that this is behind these stones. So I should probably do a little bit more along the side here to help this side pop too. So, and you see how I did it was just by continuing to hit that area with dots, and the dots just naturally created that space. So, and also the reason why I'm doing this is it's important to put a lot of dull, to really dull down the inside of the fireplace. Because remember, these are slaves. They don't have a large abundance of wood. They only get like small tree branches to to cut and put in their fireplace to keep warm in the wintertime. So that's the reason why I wanted to have it like that, was so that way uh, you get that sense of uh, the room not being brightly lit by the fire. If anything, maybe I would say this should probably go up higher, but I think I'm just going to leave it as is. So, but let me clean off this nib. We'll work over here on this blanket here. But before we do, I'll pull it up so you can pull it in close, so you can really get a sense of. So you really get a sense here of like, you get the darks here, coming here. Now we got a darkness here. Now we go over here, and it's brighter. It's much brighter because your interaction between these two characters are what's important. And then we move over, and we're getting the more darkness here and here. I could really maybe like take and put her in heavy shadows. But I think if I were to put her in too heavy, if make the shadows too heavy, she would be completely lost. Which is okay to make her lost because she's not important. But I'm kind of looking at it like, first let's get this blanket done. Once we have this blanket done, then we can decide whether we want to darken here and put her face almost completely in shadow, or just let the colorist do it. I'm thinking I'm going to let the colorist do it, just because I kind of like the face as it is, and if I darken it up, because here's the thing also is, this is a child. If you put too many darks into a child's face, it makes them look older. How like, fortunately this one I'd already determined that this was an older sister, so putting all the line work into her, making her look older, I was okay with that. Whereas here, and even up to a point here, I don't want a lot of tone because I want them to see like children. Same thing like this one over here, this little boy here. No tone whatsoever because he's a child. He's like he's like just above the age of a toddler. So I don't want to have any colors really in his face. So you guys understand. Again, I know when you look at that, like, haha, he made buckwheat, and I was I understood that he. Like, it's easy to look at him and go, oh, it's buckwheat. I did this intentionally, not because I wanted to look like buckwheat, but I did this because I was looking at pictures of slaves from the Civil War era, and there were children like this. Why? Because they didn't have. All they had was like, okay, all they had was water to wash his hair. They didn't have any product to put in his hair to get whatnot. And there was many times you saw pictures of adolescent slave boys with their hair like this. So when I was doing this, it wasn't because I wanted him to look like buckwheat. I wanted him to have that look of a child in the Civil War era with unkept hair. So that's also the reason why with here I put all the squiggles coming out because like she she's not, they're slaves. They're not well to do. They don't have the money or the resources for her to have her hair well kept. I mean, most likely if they had any combs or brushes, was most likely what they had was what was discarded from the slave owner. So they would have like a, if they had a brush, not a brush, if they had a comb, most likely it was a comb with quite a few, with a couple teeth broken off, and that's what they had. Same thing goes with a hairbrush. It'll be a hairbrush that was falling apart, and that's when they got it. So that's where that would add to why they have the hairstyle that they have. So, but and the other thing also about this with this is that yes, they're slaves, but you look at the interaction, okay? The father's loving, he's happy. His children are happy. Okay? It just because they're slaves doesn't mean that their lives are miserable. When I say that, I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally within the family. Okay? If anything, this being in poverty makes them stronger. It makes him a more loving father because he wants more for his children than what he has. So that's why I try with the drawing, even though it's not in the script, it's something that I really want you, the reader, to really see that this is a loving father that cares for his children, and that's the reason why he's he's loving them. He wants to be a positive role model in his children's lives. Okay, again, this isn't in the script. This is what I'm trying to add to the script through the drawing. So that's one of the things I look at when as I'm working on this script. So and remember, uh, uh, John's Long Box. This he's got a campaign going. It's currently has the available on Kickstarter. Please check it out. And if you enjoy, if the campaign looks like you'll enjoy it, please back it. So and program announcement, everybody. Please, if while you're watching this video, hit the like button. It helps me out. I know I don't put a lot of effort into this, uh, primarily because I just want to focus on the drawing. And quite honestly, it's it's getting hard to create content unless you're going to be negative, and it's I'm I'm tired of the negativity. So that's the reason why I don't want to talk about what happened this week. So, but no, so that's the reason why I'm adding these elements into this. So, but okay, now we go on to day 254, we've now entered the Marvel comics that are S's. And we have Siege issue number 2. Now, full disclaimer, the reason why I own this book is because I got it out of a dollar bin. I don't buy Marvel off the shelf anymore. I don't care for them. And the reason why I bought this issue was because Mark Morales and Oliver Coppola was the art team. And I like those guys. I think Mark does a great job over Oliver. I think Mark does also a great job over Jim Chung. So uh, these books, uh, I this Siege series, I guess it was kind of like the conclusion to the whole Civil War storyline that went into a whole bunch of other storylines, and this was like the conclusion to everything where everybody gets resolved and everybody's going to start all those hurt feelings have now been resolved and they're all friends again. Bullshit. The way they fucked up those characters to have them standing side by side again, this one's like, nah, it doesn't fly with me. But anyway, I have the whole series signed because, like I said, I got them on all the dollar bins because they obviously didn't sell. Um, and Mark really liked this issue because in this issue, I guess the Sentry character kind of goes nuts, and he literally rips Ares in half. And they drew that. They drew where he just ripping him in half, and Mark was like, "Yeah," he goes, "I just he actually he signed it and then he opened it up to that page and he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "This was such a badass page to have where he just rips him in half." I thought that was so cool, and I was like, "Yeah, that was pretty fucking cool." So, but so that's the reason why I had him sign this particular issue because of the art team, and I got this more for the art and less for the story. In the end of the story, I know that they had a big 2-page spread of like it was weird. It was kind of like they had like I think it's like the impression I got the way they drew it, like they were standing on top of a roof of a building of a house. You know what I mean? It's like they're standing on top of a house or on top of, in the middle of suburbia, and had like uh, Tony Stark and Captain America as Steve Rogers, Bucky as Captain America, Spider-Man. I think they had like Cage and Cage's wife, whoever that woman was, there on top, standing on top of looking at the reader, and I think it was they're talking to reporters, so they did it as if they're looking down on the reporters, which it was like cool dramatic shot of people just standing there. Okay, okay. So yeah, so but to be all fairness, it was the end of the story, and they're trying to like how like the conflict's been resolved and fences are being mended. I guess is how they wanted to do it. So, and then after this issue, it was day 255, Silver Surfer Annual #1, signed by Joe Staten and signed by Steve Englehart, the writer. And the reason why I show you guys this one signed, primarily was because this was the illustrative point. This was, I think it was the Atlantis attacks, and they had Silver Surfer with the Eternals. And this is probably, I would say, the one issue I own with the Eternals to make my point that Marvel made such a big deal about we're doing an Eternals movie. I don't care. I don't have any of the comic books, and the comic books I do have, they suck. This one was one of those like I got it because it was I had the opportunity for these two guys to sign it, and because I had the issue, and I was like, yeah. But overall, it's one of those where it's the Eternals. It was like an okay story. It was one of those stories where it's like Steve was one of those where it's like, oh, I got to figure out how to link the annual into this event. Okay, we'll do this, and it was kind of like, let's throw some shit against the wall and see what sticks. So, and this was also in early on me getting books signed, and it was probably most likely it was when it was like Steve Englehart was going to be at Baltimore, and I was like, oh wow, and this is probably and again this is early, and I was one of those like, oh look, I can get both, I can get two signatures on this book, when I didn't have a lot of books with the opportunity for to get multiple signatures on them at the time. So, and then we followed at the end of the week with day 256, uh, Silver Surfer, Dangerous Artifacts, signed by Ron Mars. Story is extraordinary. I'm sorry, the artwork is extraordinary. When I had Ron sign it, he gave me a full story. Apparently, the artist was very paranoid, and he was like he lived over in Europe. He would not mail them or FedEx them the pages because he was so concerned that they'd be damaged. He waited until he was completely done with the story, with the pages. Then he flew them to Marvel on a plane. So he basically, and the way I was, he didn't just fly in an airplane to deliver them. He had them holding them in his seat the entire trip, and then he gave them to him. Um, this was a great book, art wise. Story wise was also very good. The problem was is that the process of shooting straight from pencil was still relatively new, and also the problem is that it wasn't, the pages weren't properly aligned to the presses, so the printing of it wasn't that of the page alignment wasn't the great best. The layout, the ink, the lettering layouts wasn't the best. Ron Mars actually, he has a blog, or basically he posted a blog telling the full story of this issue and how it came about with getting printed. And he said, I guess, that there's a there's an Italian version of this book that is the only version where it was printed correctly. So, if you have the chance to get that Italian version, that's the version with the best printing. But I think I enjoy. I remember this is I was in the Kubert school when this book came out, and the reason why it was even on my radar was the one teacher. He was up at the Marvel office and he saw the pages, so he made some photocopies of the pages, and he said it was like, "Oh, can I photocopy off some pages to show my students?" He photocopied a shitload of pages off because he wanted them for himself. Now he showed them to me and showed them to us, and the pages were awesome. I mean, you see it and you're like, wow, that is like, especially the designs he did for the spaceships and whatnot were just extraordinary. So I would definitely advise you guys, if you have a chance, to dig this book out of your collection, take another look at it, or look it up on eBay or check your local store. It's worth it. It's a really nice, story's good, beautiful artwork. You just gotta look past the printing errors. So, or if you didn't notice it, take another look at it and see if you see what I'm talking about. So, but guys, I'm well over my time, so I'm going to check out. I'm going to take a look. I might hit some darker. I'm thinking I'm going to make this blanket, do some more pushing with the blacks to make it darker in areas. So, otherwise, the next time you see me, I'll be working on this page here or this panel down here. So, but you guys have a great day. You know I'm having a great day. And remember, life is stressful, so please take life one dot at a time and be nice to each other. Bye.